Today I'd like to continue our journey through the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 16. We've been looking at the passage where Peter acknowledges, with a deep act of faith, who Jesus is. It says that Jesus is the Christ. He is the Son of the living God. Jesus remarks that this had to come from someplace deep within Peter, that it was a gift of God to Peter, that he was able to recognize who Jesus is. In verse 19, Jesus kind of rewards Peter in a way for his faith. And in rewarding him, he's really extending it to all the apostles who were there, and they certainly are affirming this faith with Peter. No one raises an objection, everyone stays together, and they realize who Jesus is. So Jesus says, I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. First thing we remark about this particular verse from Jesus is the idea of the keys. What is this referring to? It's a special key that Jesus has that he's giving to Peter. Of course not, it's a symbolic concept. It's an image really that's drawn from the book of the prophet Isaiah, the Hebrew Scriptures, chapter 22, verses 15 to 25. Verse 22 says, I will place the key of the house of David on his shoulder. When he opens, no one shall shut. When he shuts, no one shall open. So this particular key that Jesus is referring to here as a long tradition in the Hebrew Scriptures. And Peter and the other apostles, they would recognize what Jesus is referring to here, referring to the house of David. Of course, the Messiah was to come from the house of David. So this key is related to the house of David. And there's such an intimacy in this description. The key is placed on the shoulder of David. It shows you that intimate connection between the key and the person of David. And when David opens, it's going to be fine, no one's going to shut. And when he shuts, no one is going to be able to open. So David will have this power as king, this power given to him by God. And so Jesus is saying that the same power that God gave to David, this key, I will now give to you and to the apostles and to those who come after the apostles, those who try to share the good news, those who try to proclaim the kingdom of God. They will have the key. And of course, really, what is the key? The key is Jesus. The key is the love of Jesus. The key is the proclamation that Jesus is sharing. The key is the good news. The key is the reality that we are loved by our God. Shebna, we see also in the book of the prophet Isaiah, received the key to the royal palace. The key was the symbol of the office of master of the palace. So this key is very special. The person who is the key person, the one who is the holder of the key, is extremely important. And of course, we see this in all societies. The importance of the key, the importance of gaining access. Of course, now we have electronic keys. We have different types of keys, systems that we use to gain access. The important thing in this is gaining access to someone special, to something special. If I have a key, if I am employed, and I get that key, it's a sign that I can have access to certain areas. And so the key becomes very symbolic, very important of gaining this intimacy with God, this closeness with God. The highest of the offices in the whole Israelite court was the office of the keeper of the keys. This was the person that you would trust the most because things would have to be locked up, they have to be kept away from certain people. Only certain people could have access to certain areas. So you would have to go to the person with the keys and say, "Can I get in here?" And of course, if you weren't cleared for access, you couldn't get in. It's kind of like us in our computer age. What type of access are we given? Would we be given a certain password, a certain level of clearance, where we can access certain information? Same was true in the court of David and the court of all the Israelite kings. Certain people could gain access to certain areas, other people could not. So the key became very valuable. So in a way, what Jesus is saying here is that Peter is now declared to be master of the palace. He is the one with the highest level, the highest office, the office of the key keeper. He has this office because he is the key to the ecclesia, to the church. He is the one who's going to show leadership. He's the one who's going to give us access to this deeper relationship with Jesus, this intimacy with Jesus that we are seeking. And why does that happen? It happens simply because Peter is a man of faith. He recognizes truly who Jesus is. He sees Jesus as the Christ, as the Son of the living God, because of his confession of faith, because he was bold enough to proclaim his faith, because he told Jesus as an example to the other apostles. He was given this special role of the keeper of the keys. And it's interesting that the keys are the keys to the kingdom of heaven. So this is a special key. It's a key that we would all love. Give me that key, I want to get into heaven. The kingdom of heaven here is in a different sense than we usually see it. Usual sense of the kingdom of heaven is the reign of God in heaven, the supremacy of God. But here, this key to the kingdom of heaven is a key to community. Because Peter will have that key, we are part of this community, this wonderful community of followers of Jesus. We're going to share the gospel. We're going to proclaim the gospel. We're going to lead others to Jesus. So this key is not a key of power, in a sense. It's a key to community, to sharing, to intimacy. Jesus is giving Peter this special role as a builder of community. And it really parallels the concept of the ecclesia, of those who are called to gather together. So because we gather together, because we share together, because we come together to be with others who are believers in Jesus, we try to proclaim and share good news to other people. because of that calling into community. Peter is given that key. That key opens us all to this level of community, to this deep level of sharing, being one with one another, one with Jesus. And through that unity with one another and with Jesus, the key is that unity of all peoples. The peoples who maybe don't have faith, don't have belief in anything, but yet we're called to solidarity with all because we have been given the key, which is to build community through love for God and love for our sisters and brothers.